Back. My name is Aleksandra and I am the tutor from AthenaStudies, and this is going to be the final knowledge clip that I'm going to be doing for y'all, which is about the conclusion. So let's get started. So first, again, as always, I like to give a word count range for you guys to use as an estimation for how long your conclusion should be. So I would recommend in the range of about 400 to 600 words, because it's just basically like a overall summary of all of your paper's findings and what you were doing in your paper. So the next thing is just a quick assignment reminder, as always, just letting you know in case you forgot what your assignment is about. Again, choose a company, decide to what extent they create value, they capture value, and also address their value proposition. So that's what your main essay should be about. And what the conclusion is for is essentially exactly what it says in its name. You're concluding the topic and goal of your essay. So you are describing the conclusions that you have come to regarding your central question, which is the main idea or main purpose of your paper. So the things that you need to address are: what are your conclusions or results about the extent to which your company's value proposition is clear, and also to what extent does your company, your chosen company, successfully create and capture value for their business. So these are the main things that you need to address in your conclusion, but I'm going to continue on with specific structural things. But before that, I just want to note that you need to make the reader understand what your company's view is regarding value creation and capturing. So what I would recommend is, first of all, reiterate and briefly explain what your company's view on value capturing and creation is, and then to what extent they are successful in doing these two things, and also whether the proposition is clear for the reader. So now moving on into the structure of the conclusion. So I broke it up into four main parts. So the first part is research purpose, then you talk about your main results, and then you list your limitations, and then suggestions for future research. So first is research purpose. So you're describing the why and the what of your research paper. Why are we looking at this issue? What is the purpose of this paper? So some leading questions that you can ask yourself whenever you're trying to write this part is: what was the goal of your research paper? What were you trying to do for the reader? What were you trying to increase their understanding of? What problem were you trying to address in your paper? So some leading questions for problems could be like: why is value creation and capturing important for researching? And why is it important to your business? What about today's digital landscape makes these types of value concepts very critical and important in terms of being a successful business? So these are basically some of the reasons why you might have done your research, why you chose your specific company, and why looking into value creation, capturing, and then also their proposition is important. So that is the first thing in the research purpose part. And then we go into your main results. So in this case, you are elaborating on your main conclusions resulting from your extensive research. So based on all of these studies and all the articles you read, you are now going to, again, reiterate and answer the components of your central question. So this is kind of like taking your analysis part and taking the conclusion sentences from, the ends of each of your arguments in your analysis, and then summing them up briefly in your main results. So based on your criteria and evidence and all the argumentation that you already presented in your analysis, you can now summarize to what extent does your company have a clear value proposition, and then successfully perform the other two value concepts. So for value creation, you can briefly mention the main concepts that led you to conclude this, and same for value capturing. Again, just briefly mention, the extent to which your company is successful at capturing value is, due to like evidence 1, criteria 2, and like the extent to which those are applicable. So that's like where you go into your main results. And again, your overall conclusion should be relatively short. I mean, compared to other parts of your essay, it's pretty short. So don't try to continue on your analysis. You're basically just summarizing what you already found in your analysis section. And a nice thing about your limitations is where you can discuss why the answer to your central question is still provisional. And what I mean by provisional means that even though you have this answer now, it has the potential to change later. So that's what it means. And so in terms of your limitations, you can have limitations of your paper for a lot of reasons. So one reason that you could potentially go off of is just due to a lack of research that you were able to find to help with your paper. So that could be a potential limitation, is that your paper does not analyze the extent to which your business fulfills all these three value concepts, simply due to the lack of empirical experiments, measuring either value creation or capturing. So maybe there's insufficient evidence supporting ways that you can actually measure value creation and capturing. Maybe there's insufficient research on the effects of value creation and capturing on the success of a digital platform. So maybe that's an issue where you did find your business was successful at creating or capturing value. However, the applicability of it on their success, maybe they're not the same thing. So maybe some measures also for value creation and capturing are outdated, or maybe some of the literature you found was outdated that you used. So, and like another way is just that obviously in today's modern environment, there's always new things being improved, and usually faster than academic literature can be published on it. So maybe some of your references are outdated and are lacking, something recent. So those are some ideas for limitations for your research paper. And the point of your limitations is to show weaknesses in your research. However, despite these limitations, you can highlight what readers can benefit from by reading your research paper. So even though you do have limitations, as all research papers do, what does your paper add? What is good about your paper, and why is it important still that you wrote about this topic? And a quick note about that is just making sure that the limitations you introduce aren't easily fixable. So obviously, if you just say, oh, I could have chosen studies that were more recent, I mean, of course you should have already done that, like by just trying to do the overall research paper, but try to be more creative in terms of how your paper is limited. Maybe the scope of your paper is limited. Maybe, again, it could be a lack of research, but what type of research? Things like that. Make sure that you don't just keep the limitation for just one sentence and don't elaborate on it. And then we move into future research. So from your limitations, where you're basically talking about your paper and your limitations, then you can lead into future research. So this is where now you are making suggestions for more research to be done regarding your topics of your essay. So based on your paper's limitations, describe what future research should focus on. So there's a lot of different ways that you can suggest further research. So here's a lot of just different leading questions. So maybe if you're more interested in how privacy would fit into, value creation and capture, are you interested in, new factors to consider besides the three main value concepts? Maybe there's another component that needs to be evaluated when we're talking about the success of a digital platform. What if there's only a digital platform that excels at one of the three value concepts or two out of the three? Why is that the case? AI technology development, indirect versus direct network effects and how do they impact value creation and capturing? There's a lot of different ways that you can be creative with your ideas for future research. But one thing to note is that you should be specific and, concise with your future research suggestions. Don't just say, oh, there should be future research on value creation. That's way too vague. Try to actually think of a new research question. So to what extent, if we look at the first leading question, to what extent would privacy play a role in the value creation aspect of a digital business model? Try to actually think of new research questions and be more specific about it. So be thoughtful and in your suggestions, and be creative in your introductions. Don't just say the most vague thing possible and just say, oh, well, we just need more research. Like, really try to be creative, based on what you're interested in. So these are the 4 main parts of your conclusion. Again, it's not very long because all of the work, all of the explanation should have already been done in the previous 3 parts of your essay, especially the analysis and theoretical framework. So before I conclude this video, I'm going to go ahead, as always, and show you an example of my writing. So here was my conclusion. I believe it was I think mine was about 400 words. So again, it was pretty short. But first, I summarized, and then what I basically restated my central question and what I'm trying to find in my paper. So then I just basically again restated why this, how I came to this conclusion. And for me, it worked that I mentioned, section. In this section, I argued this. So in this whole first paragraph, I'm basically summarizing what my paper is, what's the purpose, what's my central question, and then how did I answer that central question. And then I went into my limitations. So I said good things about my paper. However, there are some things that I was lacking. So lacking in specificity, maybe. So maybe not all components I included. But at the very end, I did say that my essay still has merit because I still use the most important aspects to analyze my central question. And then this is basically the last paragraph is just concluding my findings and results, and then basically what I would suggest for further research, or just as a next thing to consider in terms of what the next research paper should be about. So that is an example of my conclusion section. Again, pretty short and sweet, and that should just be enough words to fully summarize what your paper is about. So that is going to conclude this final video of the Knowledge Clip series. Thank you so much for watching. Seriously, I'm blown away that you guys like these videos and you find them helpful. So that was all I wanted. If you need to look at the past knowledge clips, I will link the playlist down below. And also, if you want the link to these slides that I used, that will also be down below. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck with your writing assignment. I know you guys are going to kill it. But yeah, have a great day. Bye.